Hello everyone, welcome back to GM Magique. Today is the 74th day of my 100 Day The Economist Challenge. But before we start, if you're new to my channel, please remind yourself this is how I use my markers, my highlighters. If you see orange parts, that would be words and expressions. If you see blue parts, that would be background information. And for the pinky parts, the very cute ones, that would be about pronunciation, but this part is optional. And here, if you are interested for my free notes, summary, and audio file, just scan this QR code. Everything's free, so don't worry about anything. And so, before we start, I'd like to mention that today we're going to talk about Huawei. Considering the fact that it's a quite professional domain, I consulted a PhD student from Tsinghua University, majoring in information and communication engineering. So, big thanks to him. Okay, finally, let's get started. From the title, Huawei and 5 Geopolitics, we could see that basically this article tapped into the overlap area between 5G and geopolitics. The gist of this article is that open standards, not sanctions, are America's best weapon against China's telecom giant. Instead of saying giant, we have behemoth. You could also say Leviathan. I think I'll show you how to write them all. Hang on. Yeah, we have Colossus, or you could say Brobdingnagian. Is quite interesting. Brobdingnagian. This is actually from Gulliver's Traveling, and you could even say monster. But I think the best way to say is like leading player or top runner, that kind of thing. And in this first paragraph, that is why America is so worried about China's rise as a technological superpower. Um, Again, you could just say Huawei is a superpower in terms of 5G networking. And then it also explains why it is going to such lengths, even using European style industrial policy to rein in Huawei. So the length here refers to this expression. If you go to great lengths or any lengths to do something, that means you're literally trying your best. Sometimes it could be used in a derogative way. For example, some people go to great lengths to make their homes attractive. I mean, this is not derogative, but you could say someone is trying to make their wish come true at all cost. Sometimes you could replace it. And here we also have to rein in Huawei. Rein in literally means if you have a horse, if you want to rein your horse, if you want to control it, you could just stretch on its reins. And that's why here we have did I put it here? Okay, I haven't. I'll show you guys how it's written. And the okay, shouldn't be rein. I just got my MacBook, so I'm still not a veteran when it comes to using Mac system. And okay, I want English ones. Here, rein in, keep under control, restrain. Or you could say, with an effort, she reined back her impatience. The government had failed to rein in public spending. And next one, the central nervous system. Nervous system is literally like the central system in your brain, or you could say the most important part. Here, yet by any measure, America is losing the fight against Huawei. The reason why I mark these words in green is that you could actually quote from these words when you want to summarize this whole article. Here, along with what President Donald Trump steeped in zero-sum thinking, steeped in literally means you're soaked in something. Usually it's used as be steeped in. I think I put it here. Okay, maybe when I was looking through this article, I didn't spot this as a difficult word, so I didn't mark it, but I would explain it here. Here, usually be steeped surround or fill with a quality or influence a city steeped in history, or a city rich in history, a city which has the predominant influence of history. Here, the Chinese firms keeps on growing. The rollout of 5G in China continues apace. Rollout literally means if you launch something for the first time, you could say it's a rollout. As you could see here, the official launch or introduction. I'm going to number them here. Oh, why is it so small? Okay, I don't know why. I have to put it in bigger forms like this. You could say the official launch or introduction of a new product or service. And you could say that Apple rolled out something something. Apple rolled out its 2020 MacBook Air, that kind of thing. And a pace literally means fast, quickly, at high speed, at a very high pace. And most of America's allies have so far ignored its entreaties to ban Huawei Gear entirely from the national 5G networks on security grounds. You need to pay attention to this entreaties because I think a few days ago we mentioned plea or require a requirement or appeal. I think I mentioned them here. Yeah, right here. You could say plea, appeal, request, petition. You could say sign a petition, and those are not very close. These are not specifically close to entreaty in this context, but you could say a country is pleading for something, which we mentioned yesterday. And okay, go back to our article. Entirely from the national 5G networks on security grounds, which means on the grounds of. That is to say, because of security reasons or because of security issues. Here, even so, the Trump administration seems intent on doubling down on its strategy. Intent on means they are really determined to do something. They have to do it. They just really want to finish it. And doubling down on, you could say redouble or put more effort into. This is a very basic phrase. And any chip maker, this is just for background information. So if America is really trying their best, look, if hawks have their way, hawks means the kind of politicians who holds warlike or very aggressive opinions, usually when it comes to politics. And here, any chip maker that uses American technology, which nearly all do, will soon have to ask for permission in Washington, D.C. to sell its wares to Huawei. Pay attention here, it's not for permissions from Washington, D.C., it's in Washington, D.C. It's not as if you can't use from, but regarding this is what the author put, I think this is way more native. The problem with America's strategy is that it is trying to win today's tech cold war. Again, you could quote it for your summary, as some call it, with yesterday's arsenal. Arsenal here means weapon, and I think a few days ago we mentioned for chicken, we called them. Okay, let me see. Yes, we called them X battery chicken. So here, there is an arsenal of penalties for inside trading. So arsenal could be understood as battery or weapon or the gun replacement, ammunition, that kind of thing. Those words, the words that I just mentioned, have been mentioned already in the past week. So if you don't know how to spell them, just go back to those videos. Here, this is a false errand in a hyper-connected world. Errand, I guess some of you must be very familiar with it if you watch Modern Family. Claire always says that, oh, I'm just going to run some errand, but a false errand means a task or like a duty which is probably doomed to fail. I put it down here. A task or activity that has no hope of success. He sent gullible freshmen on false errands. Gullible means you could just trick this guy easily. Someone who is easily falling for traps. Here, it only provides extra incentives for Huawei and China to become technologically self-sufficient. Here, incentives, I think is a quite good word because sometimes you could say if something aspires you, or I mean inspires you to do something, or stimulates you to do something, you could just say a certain thing give you the incentives for blah 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 blah. Here, it has thrived on openness, software, and a healthy balance of competition and cooperation. And again, this is what America's business environment used to look like. I'm only saying this is because the author of today's article seems to believe that America should have been more open in terms of 5G network. Here, mobile networks, long dominated by specialized hardware, are becoming defined by software. This is the intro for this company, Rakuten, who has introduced a fully virtualized mobile network, built using general purpose hardware, or you could say off the shelf hardware, and lots of software. Pay attention here, there is not a S after software. I remember once my friend asked me, is it a countable word or uncountable? Usually is uncountable, I would say. But a bit of background information from the Tsinghua PhD. What is virtualization? I found a YouTube video about it. I'm going to shadow her voice, and she's from IBM Cloud, so I think we can trust her. Okay. So, first off, what is virtualization? Simply put, virtualization is a process of creating a software-based, a virtual version of something, whether that be compute, storage, networking, server, or applications. So, that's the definition. You might notice that there was a mix of British and American accent because she was speaking American English, so I kind of got carried away. And yeah, so basically that's what virtualization is. But when it comes to network virtualization, literally means abstracting network resources traditionally delivered in hardware to software. That is to say, you put more emphasis on software rather than hardware. And when it comes to America's assault against Huawei, is basically attacking Huawei's hardware, saying that probably if all the countries in the world are using Huawei's software, there is a possibility that Huawei is going to use it in the wrong way or fumbling it. And then here, the point of the author is that if we're using virtualized network, then we don't need to rely on one vendor. Vendor means seller, and we have plenty more. We have peddler for someone who is, I'd better type that down. Peddler for someone who's selling things on the streets. Oh, is it not right? Oops. Okay, and then we have, why is it up there? You could say seller, supplier, or I really don't think this is gonna work. I'm just going to tap on it and show you. Right here, look, you have seller, salesperson, salesman, loads of this, or even you could say retailer. These are all synonyms for vendor. And what's better is that you have this one, purveyor. Usually if you say someone's a purveyor, that means they have been in this industry for a long time. And especially you could say those luxuries brands, you could say perfume purveyor, or high-end designer bags purveyor. Here, they can be built with components from many, allowing carriers to pick and choose. Here, carriers means mobile carriers, and actually from what I have found from this company. Literally, they are working with quite a lot of suppliers in the world, and that could make it possible for countries around the world to pick and choose where their components come from. Here, moreover, such networks are cheaper to develop, make, and maintain than conventional ones because they are made mostly from off the shelf hardware controlled by software, doing away with the argument of many mobile operators that banning Huawei would force them to buy more expensive kit from Ericsson and Nokia, its main competitors. This is the point of view of the author, but the Jinhua PhD told me that it is not that practical. For example, we could consider Nokia and Ericsson and Huawei as three markets where you could get your vegetables come from, where you could get some of your components for hotspots, let's say. So if you go to either, any of these three markets, you could get products from their production line. But if you go to this company, which is called Rakuten, they have a market as well, but what they are selling is components or materials from multiple vendors or suppliers. It is difficult for them to put the cost or squeeze the cost down because they have to earn money themselves. They have to sourcing all those materials, so they have extra cost in terms of negotiating or cooperation between those suppliers, and plus they have to put a service fee because you're using the market to sell stuff. So he thinks that this is really not that practical. Lastly, admittedly, virtualized networks will not solve all security problems, and the underlying standard called Open RAN is not yet mature. Okay, so even if it's cheap, it's still not mature and you can't use it. But it is early days for all 5G networks. It will take years to roll them out fully. Here, roll out, I think, is develop them or make them grow. And the COVID-19 crisis has done nothing to speed the process. So there is time. That is to say, countries and carriers around the world are all the same because it is just a very rudimentary stage of 5G network. Rudimentary means a basic, early stage or early days, as mentioned here. And then the Trump administration and other governments should do all they can to accelerate the development of virtualized networks by, this is really important, we have subsidizing research, and here subsidizing means give money to finance something. Here, provide finance, capital for capitalize, give money to, pay a subsidy to, give a grant to, contribute to, all of this. You could just copy paste them from a WeChat official platform. And here, and perhaps even mandating the use of technical standards. Here, mandating the article we talked about yesterday, maybe this one? Let me have a look. Oops, sorry, not this one. Yesterday we talked about the word mandate, that means authority. Here, mandating, simply put, it is just authorizing something or give someone the right to, or give the green light for them to conduct certain works. Mandating the use of technical standards that allow mobile networks to be virtualized. All this may sound far-fetched. So fetch literally means you go and fetch something, to pick something. But if you say far-fetched, that means unlikely, improbable, implausible. Sometimes when you are trying to justify what you're saying, you have to make it sound plausible. That means that sound like makes sense, tellable, and that kind of thing. Here we have COVID-19 creates room for new thinking. America will either pursue a tech cold war with an uncertain outcome, or help create an industry of the kind that American tech firms understand and have thrived in, letting Chinese companies to join in only if they follow the rules. This echoes back to what the author mentioned: open standards, not sanctions. Here, Sometimes establishing a robust here the stresses on the second syllable, safe technology, is not about concentrating power so much as diffusing it. So in general, I'm trying to summarize this article with you guys right now. You could pause it and do your own summary, and then come back to here, and then come back here to see my summary. So basically, this article talked about Huawei and 5G geopolitics. America is worried about China's rise as a technological superpower, um, and it's going to any lengths to curb Huawei, but it is losing the fight because their behavior has given Huawei more incentive to be self sufficient in tech industry. America's strategy is using a outdated arsenal to win today's tech cold war, but there is a silver lining for the country, which is they have a tradition of openness, software, and healthy balance of competition and cooperation when it comes to technological industry. Meanwhile, there is a new possibility of mobile network, um, featured by virtualized network. It is not mature and 100% safe at the moment, but it could allow carriers to pick and choose different vendors. In total, or to sum up, America should um, encourage the research into 5G network by subsidizing it and mandating the use of technical standard. I think that's the end. So if you do like this video, please don't forget to give me a thumb up and share it with your friends. Also, if you guys need subtitles, I have uploaded this video on YouTube, so you could go to the YouTube link and then tap on the subtitle button so you could get the English subtitle. And I'll see you guys for another lesson. Bye.